Welcome to Maths with Paro. Today's lesson is about 2019 January Mathematics B Paper 1 question. I'm continuing from question 8 as my previous video was from question 1 to 7. Here we go. Question 8 is on inequalities. So what we do in an inequality, the only thing we cannot do in an inequality is we cannot multiply or divide by a negative number unless we reverse the inequality sign. Now, sometimes students tend to forget to do that. So I generally tell them, if you want to make anything positive, move it to the other side, because I don't want them making a mistake in multiplying or dividing by a negative number. So here what we do is we're going to add all the x terms onto one side. If you look at 5x and minus 3x, 5x is larger than minus 3x. So we want to move everything to the side with the larger x. So here we take the minus 3x to the left-hand side. We have 5x plus 3x. Then what we do is we take the number to the right-hand side. So that becomes from plus 4, it's going to become minus 4. So we have 20 minus 4. 5 plus 3 is 8, so we have 8x is less than 20 minus 4 is 16. If we divide both sides by 8, we have x is less than 2. That's part A. Now part B, in order to represent this on the number line, we go to 2, and since it's less than, it's going to be an open circle. And since it's less than 2, all the values are going towards the left of 2, so we draw an arrow. And that is our final answer. Now let's move on to question 9. Here we have the points OAB are such that OA, vector OA is minus 2, 4. Vector OB is 5, minus 3. And vector AC is minus 1, minus 1. Now let's start with OA and let's mark A. So we have OA, we also have OB, we've been given, and we've been given AC. And we're asked to find BC. Now, one thing you have to remember is BO is the same as negative OB. And if I want to go from B to C, I can go from B to O and O to C. Now, I'm doing that because I have been given OB. Also, if I want to go from O to C, I can go from O to A and A to C. So I have my OC here. Then from here, I have that BC is equal to BO plus OC. And that's what they're asking us to find out. So what we do is we use the vectors we have. So OC is equal to, that is from here, O to C is equal to O to A plus A to C. Now O to A is minus 2, 4, which I write down. A to C is minus 1, which I write. And if I add them, I end up with, I add minus 1 to minus 2 to minus 1 to give us minus 3. 4 minus 1 is 3, and that's my vector OC. Now to get BC, I have to go from BO to OC. Now BO is negative of OB. So I take the negative of this, which is minus 5, 3. And I add OC, which is minus 3, 3. So minus 5 and minus 3 is minus 8. 3 plus 3 is 6. That is my BC. Now the question they're asking us is the modulus of BC. That means we have to find the magnitude of BC, and we use Pythagoras theorem. That is the theory we use to find the magnitude of BC. So we square the top number, which is minus 8 squared. We square the bottom number, which is 6 squared. And if we do that, we will end up with the square root of 64 plus 36, which is equal to the square root of 100. The square root of 100 is 10. And that is our final answer. Now let's move on to the next question. Question 10, they ask us to write this in standard form. Now you know that standard form means that we have to write a number which is between 1 and 10. So what we do is we put a decimal after the first significant figure, and then we count the number of zeros we should multiply. So there's 2, there's another 3, that's 5, there's another 3, that's 8. So we simply write 3.4 into 10 to the power 8. Now the way to check this is, if you have a final answer, you want to write it out, and when you write it out, you should be able to get the original answer. That means that your workings are correct. That's part A. Let's move on to part B. In part B, they say calculate giving your answer in standard form. Now, when we have a situation like this, we write 2 times 10 to the 99, 10 to the power of 99 on top. Then we write 5 times 10 to the power 110 at the bottom. And then what we do is we try to divide whatever we have. So if we divide 2 by 5, we'll get 0.4. Now we have a 10 to the power 110 at the bottom, we have a 10 to the power 99 on top, and we end up with 10 to the power 111. Now remember that standard form means that we have to write the answer as between 1 and 10. So the formula for standard form, or the theory, is A times 10 to the power n, where A is a number between 1 and 10. So it's less than 10 and greater or equal to 1. So 0.4 is less than 1. So to make it 1, we're going to multiply it by 10. Now mathematics, as you all know, is a very fair subject. So if we're going to do something to the numerator, we shall not leave out the denominator. So we multiply that also by 10. If you multiply 0.4 by 10, we get 4. If you multiply 10 to the power 11 by 10, you're going to get 10 to the power 12. Now 10 to the power 12 is at the bottom, and we need to make sure that 10 to the power 12 goes to the numerator. So when it does, it becomes 10 to the power minus 12, and that is your final answer for this question. Moving on to the next question. Here we say that the question says, given that for all values of x, 2x squared minus 3x plus 21 is equal to, and this is about completing the square. So let's look at the theory of completing the square. We start off with 2x squared minus 3x. So I'm just going to take it in stages. The first stage is just 2x squared minus 3x. Now, what we do here is we take out the 2, right? We take out this 2 and we're left with x squared minus 1.5x. Then what I do is I'm going to rewrite x squared minus 1.5x as completing the square. So what are my steps for that? I first divide the x term by 2x. So 3x over 2 divided by 2x is going to give us 3 over 4. Then my next step is I add 3 over 4 to x and I square it. Then my third step is I subtract the square of 3 over 4. So I end up with x plus 3 over 4 squared. This should be a square here. X plus 3 over 4 squared minus 9 over 16. All right. Now, what happens here is I'm going to move all of these things back into the original equation. So I have this. I'm going to move this back over here. So if I do that, I end up with 2 into x plus 3 over 4. This should be a plus 3 over 4. Oh, these are minus, sorry. I have made a mistake here. All of these should be minuses. Sometimes when we're doing a sum, we forget about writing the minus. So all of this should actually be minus here. And we have x minus 3 over 4, the whole thing squared. And then what happens? We square it and we subtract 9 over 16. Now don't forget that we have this additional number here of 21. So what do? We then add the 21 at the end. Now I'm going to simplify everything I have. So this whole thing is going to become this. Then I'm going to add the minus, I'll put it in another color. I'm going to add minus 9 over 16 into 2, which will make it minus 9 over 8, and I add it to 21. When I do that and I simplify this, I'm going to make this 19.875. So my final answer, I'll clear everything. My final answer that I have is, I want to write this as a into x minus b squared. So obviously a is going to be 2 and b is going to be 0.5. And also I have another c here. This plus c is going to be this value of 19.875. So that's it for this question. Thank you for watching. I hope you understood my explanation. That's all for now. Goodbye until my next video.